in the hours that I've known, and of all of my woes are the cause to lay you low. I demand they turn to hold. Would you set me free? Just set me free. As it takes its hold, and it won't let you go, I'm reminded of the cold and how it's taken so much from me. All you worry of being saved, all your fears and insecurities, just set me free. Just set me free. Just set me free. Yeah. And there's nowhere to hide, and you're only just trying. Are there only just lies you hear? While redemption seems far away, while I stumble through every day, just set me free. Just set me free. Just set me free. Just set me free. Yeah. Just set me free. Keep running till we learn to find peace. Just set me free. Keep running till we learn to find peace. Just set me free. Keep running till we learn to find peace. Just set me free. Keep running till we learn to find peace. Just set me free.
I don't know about you, but I think we've already had church. Thank you so much. My name is Tim Krause, and I use he, his pronouns, and I'm grateful to be here with you in our beloved community. Who isn't in need of redemption. I know I am. And that's what's so wonderful about the song. It's so poetic. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. We are occupying land that was once the sacred space for the Adena, the Hopewell, the Miamia, and the Shawandasi people. We are a community committed to social justice and also committed to supporting the various spiritual and ethical paths of all of our members. Our community is growing and changing in so many wonderful ways. We're striving to be as much of a welcoming community as we can be, for we know that we can only grow to become better people by recognizing that we actually need each other. We need our community. That commitment to interdependence requires us to take care of each other's needs, whether they be physical or emotional. That is why we provide for all of us gender-neutral bathrooms, hearing assistance devices, spaces for our children to be a part of our community, and then we encourage you to be as comfortable as possible in our worship and community spaces. That's what it means for us to build beloved community, where everyone and absolutely everyone matters. We know we are a work in progress and that we will make many mistakes along this journey before we get it right. But the point is, we are striving to do better because we want others to join us on this aspirational journey. If you'd like to know more about our Unitarian Universalist Church, please contact us at member-care@firstuu.com. That's member-care@firstuu.com. Before we light our chalice today and begin our service, I'm inviting Board of Trustee member Chris Dendy to come to the pulpit and give us a quick board update.
Thank you, Tim. Good morning, everyone. Again, as Tim said, my name is Chris Dindy. I'm here from the board. The board takes just a minute once a month to give you a quick, give the congregation a quick update on board activities. I'm going to do that, but I'm also first going to use the bully pulpit here to say thank you to Kyle and to Park for sitting in with us today on the house band. Really appreciate it. We're living with mitten trees and wonderful gifts and wonderful atmosphere. So we're all filled with the Spirit, and thank you guys very much. And thank you guys for being with us. There is a great article, all aboard article in the newsletter this month, which I call your attention to because it does lay out the process for our ministerial search. The board has determined that we will be moving forward with a developmental minister search. And a developmental minister is a process that has been developed by the UUA over the past 10 or 15 years for congregations that are really committed to working deeply over several years on entrenched behaviors or entrenched culture. And where the UUA feels that the congregation has identified things that they want to work on and is willing to work on those things. They recommend something more than an interim process. This is not just a bridge to our next settled minister. This is an experienced minister who will come in and who will partner with us. They will not do the work for this congregation, but they will partner with us based on the things that the congregation has identified. The developmental minister search is a board-driven process, and so the board has identified, certainly in listening and in working with the congregation over the past several months, the goals for this ministry, or for this search. What we want to and there are three quick goals that I'll mention here. Again, these are outlined in the article in the newsletter, which I encourage everybody to take a look at. But first off, we want to build on the restorative circles process and the conversations we've had over the past 4 or 5 months to really determine how, as a congregation, we want to be with each other. How do we want our culture to reflect? How do we want to work with each other to confront non-covenantal behaviors? Of course, we're also working separately or in parallel on the church covenant listening session after service today. We also want to expand the idea, continue expanding the idea of who we are, expanding our diversity, furthering our work on anti-racism, anti-oppression, so that we continue to make inclusion here at First Church broader than it has been in the past. The second goal in this process is to clarify and articulate and agree among ourselves as to the best organizational structure for the church. How should power and authority at the individual level, at the congregational level, at the board level, at the ministerial level, at the staff level, how should that be shared? We all want that to be part of our covenant. So these are the things that we're asking our developmental minister to come and work with us over the next several years. And this could be anywhere from a 3 to a 4 to even up a 6 or 7 year process. But certainly we should be prepared to expect 3 or 4 years. Finally, the board believes very strongly, because of the engagement and the investment that the congregation has had over the last several months in the restorative circles process, in the listening sessions, in the work that we're working on and doing with the covenant, in the work that we're doing with right relations. We believe that the congregation is ready for this work, is engaged and is excited and committed to this work. And Lisa Presley, our district representative from the UUA, and the UUA firmly believe that the church is ready for this too. Otherwise, they would not allow us to go into developmental search. They have other congregations who ask and they say, no, you're not ready. So very quickly, what this process is, the board has identified, and I'll share just briefly in a second who that is, but they've identified our developmental minister search committee. The search portal will open in the next couple of weeks, and that committee will begin to prepare ministerial search materials, which will then be finished by the middle of January 15th. That portal will open to applicants at the end of January or in early February. The search committee, much like we do with any ministerial search, the search committee will receive candidates' names in mid-March and conduct interviews by the end of March. So we will be preparing materials starting in the next week or so. They will go to candidates by the end of January. We will have candidates' names by mid-March and complete interviews by the end of March. That process, that timing is important because in case a developmental minister does not come through in this process, and keep in mind that even just in our region, we're one of 10 congregations that currently don't have a minister. So there are more congregations than there are ministers. With that said, because of the commitment of this congregation to this work, we are a priority for the district and for the UUA in this process. That's why they're allowing us into this process. So, but in the event that a candidate is not found, this goes directly into the interim minister search. So this gives us, as a congregation, the best chance to arrive in the summer with a minister to move forward in one path or the other for our settled ministry in the future. And again, the UUA has made clear to us that they feel that one of the reasons we don't have a minister now is just the effect of the timing of Reverend Connie's departure, that it just came so late in the interim search process. So we feel very confident that we're on the right path. Happy to share that with you. And most importantly, I want to share and recognize and say thank you to 4 members who have come forward, 2 from the board, 2 from the congregation, to join the Developmental Ministerial Search Committee or search team. That is from the board, Barbara Bonney. Barbara's here today. Barbara Dickerson, who I don't know is here today. Jenny Casey Leininger, who is here today. And Dick Miltner. I don't know if I saw Dick. Dick is in the very back. So please, thank you all for this very, very important work. By all means, there will be more formal communication about this after next week's board meeting. But that vote was approved by email in the last few days, so I wanted to share that with you. And thank you to those members. Thanks. Tim?
And now we're getting ready to light our chalice. And I'm going to invite Reverend McCarty to come forward. I'll give a more detailed introduction to Reverend McCarty right before the sermon, but he's going to join us with the lighting of the chalice here.
Since our topic for the day today is failure, just to kick things off, we're going to read from around the world some famous failed quotes.
Animals which move have limbs and muscles. The earth does not have limbs and muscles, therefore it does not move. Renaissance scholar Scipio Chiaramonti.
Far too noisy, my dearest Mozart, far too many notes. Emperor Ferdinand of Austria after the first performance of The Marriage of Figaro.
Heaven and earth were created all together in the same instant on October 23rd, 4004 BC at 9 o'clock in the morning. Dr. John Lightfoot, Vice Chancellor of Cambridge University, just before the publication of Darwin's Origin of the Species.
You will never amount to much. A Munich schoolmaster to 10-year-old Albert Einstein.
I can accept the theory of relativity as little as that I can accept the existence of atoms and other such dogmas. Ernest Mach, physics professor, University of Vienna.
They couldn't hit an elephant at this dist. Last words of General John Sedgwick, looking at enemy troops during the Civil War. And Tim's going to light the chalice. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. And I invite you to stand in body or spirit and open the service by singing hymn number 1010 in the Teal hymnal, We Give Thanks.
And now it's time for us to greet our neighbors. But remember, when I hit the singing bowl, we have to come back because our service is already a little long, so let's be disciplined about this. And then Meredith will give us the story for all ages.
This is a time of year steeped in tradition. Today I'm going to talk about two traditions, and to begin, let's talk about generosity. There's a tradition here at First Church of gathering donations. We trim our Christmas tree with child-sized gloves and hats and scarves for the children at South Avondale Elementary, and we gather unwrapped gifts for Project Connect. And in fact, we have someone here from Project Connect who can come up here and tell us just a little bit about what Project Connect does and why we gather these gifts. So Rhonda, would you come up?
Good morning, everyone. I want to first thank you all for allowing us to come into your establishment and to worship with you this morning. And also I want to thank you for just all the work that Meredith has done for Project Connect. Project Connect is a program we work with. It's a Cincinnati public school program where we work specifically with children and youth who are experiencing homelessness. So the gifts that you've gathered today will go towards our toy and coat distribution next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But I want to say that if I didn't know better, I would think this was all planned for us, because when Tim got up and he spoke about social injustices and how we're here for one another and we're here for the community, that's us. That's what we do. We serve the community, and everything that you're doing will go towards the community. So we appreciate that. You know, what's the saying? You can love without giving, but you can't give without loving. So I know today there's love in your heart because the gifts that you've given and the work that you've done on our behalf. Meredith, we really thank you, and we thank all of you.
in the water, which symbolizes the love of our community, softening our sorrows and amplifying our joys. So at this point in time, if you want to drop a stone into the love of our community, please come forward up the side aisles and down the middle. I have 3 more stones. One for joys or sorrows that have gone unmentioned outside these walls. One for joys and sorrows that we carry close to our hearts that will always go unmentioned. And lastly, a stone of hope for a broken world, as we strive to create justice in a broken world and put ourselves in the breach of that brokenness. And now we'll sing our children off to R.E. Now, before we play the video for our offering, a special video that Meredith has prepared, I wanted to draw attention to the flowers. The flowers are given to us by Beth Lutz in honor of the 7th day of Chalaka, recognizing the interdependent web of life and the fact that we are a part of that interdependent web. And now we'll have Meredith's video for the offering.
Hi, I'm Meredith Plummer. You may know me from such hits as Meredith's Storytime Studio or the brand new game show, Wheel of Principles. I'm here in my home studio today with a question for you. Do you appreciate these program offerings? What about our robust Lifespan Faith Development Program? Or our joyous music program? Do you like having a clean and well-maintained facility? Or do you like getting reimbursements in a timely manner? If so, then you should know that the Share the Plate for the month of December is staff. We do not have any volunteers standing by to take your calls, but you can still give. Just text GIVE to 513-717-7373 or go on our Breeze member system and click Give Now. Or you can give online at firstuu.com. Just select Staff from the drop-down menu. You can also write a check to First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati and mail it to our address, which is 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio 45219. Just write staff on the memo line. If this is your first time with us, please let the virtual plate pass you by, and thank you.
Take a step back, turn around, look at the world that you've let down. My, such a disgrace, the damage is done, you can't replace it. These are the things your mind will tell you, these are the things your heart will say. These are the things that leave you hopeless, these are the times you say, there is no way, no way, no way. But as long as you are breathing, you can start all over again if your heart's beating. You can start all over again, goodbye sorrow. You can start all over again, hello tomorrow. You can start all over. Wake up to the perfect sun. The long night is over, a new day has begun. Oh yes, dare to believe mercy flows in the morning. Your spirit is set free. These are the things your mind will tell you. These are the words your heart will say. These are the thoughts that leave you fearless. These are the hands that point the way. As long as you are breathing, you can start all over again if your heart's beating. You can start all over again, goodbye sorrow. You can start all over again, hello tomorrow. You can start all over. Everything can change if you hold on, things are new. The impossible is here and it's crying out for you. Everything is gonna work out right, just like we knew it would. You're a miracle in the making, and it's working for your good. As long as you are breathing, as long as you are breathing, as long as you are breathing, you can start all over again if your heart's beating. You can start all over again, goodbye sorrow. Hello tomorrow. As long as your heart's beating, as long as you are breathing.
We're so fortunate to have this kind of music with us today, and it's just amazing. We're going to sing, though, and we're going to sing a song that's pretty special for this congregation. It's hymn number 354, We Laugh, We Cry. It's written by Shelley Jackson Denham, and the legend has it that this song is about us. It was written and inspired by this church, about our church. And so, because we're running a little long today, we're going to drop the last verse, but we will sing the first 3 verses of this hymn because it's such a wonderful, upbeat, and lifting song for all of us to sing. So, if you're willing and able, please join us by standing and singing. I always feel good when we sing that song. It's such a great, great spirit. I want to formally introduce Reverend McCarty to us today. And it's an interesting thing how we stumbled across Reverend McCarty because Bev and Bill Baker were in Florida last winter and they just happened to be attending a UU church where Reverend McCarty was filling in for someone on sabbatical. And so they got to hear a couple of sermons. I can't remember, a couple or 3 maybe, I don't know, 2. And they were very taken by it. And since we were looking for people to fill the pulpit every now and then, we thought, why not? And so Reverend McCarty, he grew up in Colorado. He was a science fiction author before he ever became a minister. He was an electrician and a construction worker, and then decided that he was going to take the call to ministry in the early 2000s and went to Meadville, Lombard to become a UU minister. So it's an interesting journey that he's been on, and we welcome him to the pulpit today. He is the pastor emeritus of the Columbus, Indiana Unitarian Universalist congregation. And so, welcome to the pulpit, Reverend McCarty.
I'm pleased and honored to be here, and a little humbled. Thanks for asking me. Get to come here and see how the big kids do it. I'm gonna date myself. Let me. Get the tonsils loosened up there. I'm gonna date myself by talking about a television commercial I used to just love. It would start with a dark screen, just the sound of footsteps walking down a passage. Then you'd see the silhouette of a man walking along in an overcoat, and the voiceover would say, "I've shot the ball at the basket thousands of times and missed almost half of them. I've given my all in hundreds of basketball games only to lose. My teammates have depended on me to take the last shot in a close game dozens of times, and I've missed and lost the game." And finally he says, "I've failed thousands of times in my life, and that's why I win." The lights go up, and sure enough, it's Michael Jordan, basketball. Great. And I love that commercial because ever since I was a kid, I've pondered the nature of success along with its ne'er-do-well cousin, failure. When I was a small child, I didn't even know exactly what success was, but I sure wanted to be one. As for failure, I definitely did not want that. Now, of course, I'm past 70, retired from active parish ministry, and my brain is instinctively engaged in a review of my professional life. And you may be old enough to know that feeling, and if you don't, you most likely will. But mostly, I try to shut that down and keep looking forward, because in the rational side of my mind, I know it's rather a waste of time. And here's an example of why that kind of review is a waste of time. When I was in my 20s, my favorite cousin used to work with a hotshot local stock car driver. I'll just call him Mark. The next 2 summers, every Saturday night in the summer, would find me with my girlfriend out at Salt Lake City's stock car track watching the circle burners. And when I started attending that first summer, Mark was leading the season point standings in his class, but he didn't have a big money sponsor. So the last month of the season, another driver started to catch up. Mark clung to his points lead through mechanical difficulties and accidents till the very last points race of the season, when the other fella caught him and won the season championship, just by a whisker. And Mark finished second. I don't know about him, but I was really disappointed. And the next season, another hotshot driver with a good sponsor moved into Mark's class, and this time Mark never even tasted the points lead. Mark was a really good driver, but his car was cheaper, it just wasn't quite as quick, and this other fella's car was, and Mark finished second again. Meanwhile, I graduated from college and got married and went into the military. Right after I left home, Mark picked up a big money sponsor of his own who built him a new car and entered him into the top division, what they called super modified sprint cars. And Mark had an excellent rookie season, and then he won the track championship the next 2 years in a row. He had a chance to win 3 straight track championships, which was a record at that track. But better than that, he drove a winter race down in Phoenix, Arizona, and got spotted by a car owner with a national tie-in. This fellow offered Mark a ride in a USAC car. Back in those days, the United States Auto Club, and of course back in those days, USAC was best known for sanctioning the Indianapolis 500. So Mark had a shot at auto racing's biggest event. And then he got hurt in a racing accident at the local speedway. Basically, the accident damaged his neck. Not so badly that he lost any function, but he had to quit racing to prevent further damage. Just over age 30, when other race car drivers are just hitting their prime, Mark was washed up. Now to me, I saw Mark as a heartbreaking case of this much. He'd missed winning his division by this much those first 2 years. He'd missed winning 3 straight track championships by this much in the super modified division. He'd missed a shot at running in the Indianapolis 500 by this much. As it happened, I wound up working alongside Mark a few years after that, and to my surprise, I learned that as far as he was concerned, he'd never missed anything. He'd enjoyed himself, he'd kissed a lot of trophy queens, he'd won a lot of races, lots of trophies. He thought he'd had a great career. And at first, I was suspicious and thought he was just covering up the hurt. But after a while, I realized that no, he was genuinely happy with that part of his life. And now he was retired from racing, he'd taken up fishing, which he also really enjoyed. And sometimes I would hear a mutual acquaintance say of him, "Yeah, that Mark, he's what you call a winner." I've had a lot of years to think about that, particularly in light of my own career as a novelist, which kind of paralleled Mark's career as a race driver. I decided at age 7 that I wanted to become a novelist. That was my dream. And I did get some novels published in my 30s and 40s by Ballantyne's Book, which is the paperback arm of Random House. But my career had fizzled out after a while, and publishers and agents stopped returning my phone calls. That's always a bad sign. And the feeling I had toward the end, when I realized that my publisher was deliberately giving me the whole cold shoulder, was that I'd gotten so close. I was just like Mark, in my mind, not his. I'd missed my shot at the big time by this much. That was before I got interested in ministry, but I did get interested in ministry. And in one of my classes at theological school, we studied something called a genogram. And basically, a genogram is a way of diagramming a whole family tree and how behavior patterns get passed down from one generation to the next. And to my surprise, as I charted out my old family stories, I found one particular pattern out of several in my mother's side of the family, generation after generation, tracking as far back as anyone in the family could remember, which was clear back to the mid-19th century. There was this pattern of my ancestors thinking they had just missed, that they had failed by just this much. A great-great-grandfather had just missed being the governor of Nevada. One of his sons just missed being rich with a silver mine. Great aunts had just missed, and uncles had just missed. The word almost had been ingrained into that side of my family for 4 generations, and those were just the stories that got passed down to me. And what that genogram showed is that I had been preconditioned by 4 generations of family dynamics to look at myself as having failed by just this much. So naturally, I saw both my friend's racing career and my own literary career as having just missed. When I really stopped to think about it, I realized that I had been trained not to appreciate anything I ever accomplished in my life, but only to brood over what I hadn't quite accomplished. And of course, you probably already know there is no way you're going to get out of that trap. For the record, Mark was quite impressed by my writing career. He and I could look at the exact same event, and where I saw a near miss, he would see unmitigated success. The only difference between a winner and a loser was the thoughts and the mind of the person making the judgment. And that scorecard, success versus failure, has been on my mind for a very long time now, and I have to tell you, I have become real skeptical that anyone is qualified to judge their own success or failure or anybody else's. For one thing, as I've just illustrated, we make that judgment not objectively, but the way we've been trained to make it. I judged Mark's racing career and my writing career the way I had been trained to judge them, as a series of near-miss failures. He saw both my career and his again, as successes. But for another thing, even bigger reason, in the broad scope of things, there's no way we can judge the impact of our lives, not least because by the time the impact of our lives has played out, we're dead. We don't get to see how the story turns out. That's the human condition. Consider this particular Asian scholar. This is getting into your rice bowl, Tim. This fellow's father died when he was just 3 years old. He grew up poor, but he was an active youth and a good student. He had a lot of faith in his abilities. He believed he was destined for great things, that he was capable of becoming a high government official. And when he did, he vowed he would bring order, peace, and prosperity to the land. And he did hold a few minor government posts over the years, but nothing that challenged his talents, so he became a teacher, a good one. Still, he dreamed of getting a high appointment from some ruler, and then he would reform society. And finally, a local lord did appoint this fellow to a high post, but it turned out to be purely honorific. It held no real power. The years went by. His students adored him, but his dream of rebuilding society failed, faded, and died. And he accepted his failure with good grace. Sometimes he even made fun of himself, but there was no doubt it really hurt. He died at age 72, a failure in life. His students called him Kung Fu Tzu, Kung the Master. We in the West have Latinized his name to, anybody? Confucius. It was only after his death that his adoring students successfully spread his teaching, making him the dominant figure in East Asian intellectual culture. Now, I doubt any of us can judge our own lives better than Confucius. A Unitarian Universalist theologian, Sharon Welch, of whom I'm quite fond, writes, quote, "What we know, though vast, rests on shaky foundations, and furthermore, as we attempt to ascertain the effects of our actions, we are challenged to keep in mind the law of unintended consequences. Our actions, no matter how carefully thought out, have unpredictable ramifications, multiple consequences for good or ill, and often for both." Close quote. And we see this pattern repeated over and over, time and again, century after century. The best predictions of the most wise go hopelessly astray. A Jewish German linguistics professor named Victor Klemperer kept a diary of his life as a so-called privileged Jew in Nazi Germany during the Second World War. And it's quite a long story of what made him a privileged Jew and why he was not sent to the camps. But his diary is important. And I go back to it every once in a while because in pondering his own desperate circumstances, Klemperer often addresses the human condition in meaningful ways. For example, on the morning of September 27th, 1944, he was at a real low point. Germany, of course, was badly losing the war at that point. There was a serious food shortage, and this was bad enough for other Germans, but for Victor and Eva Klemperer at the bottom of the economic and social ladder, it meant at one point that they were literally starving to death. But on the morning of September 27th, 1944, he was worrying less about starvation than about failure. He writes, quote, "I have published nothing for 12 years, been unable to accomplish anything, complete anything. I've done nothing but keep this diary, record and record. Is there any point to it? Will it ever be published? And if it is completed, and if it is successful, and if I survive through my work, so to speak, what is the point for me? I shall go on reading and taking notes, not because I'm so full of energy, but because I am unable to do anything better with my time." Close quote. And those are definitely the words of a man facing down life's frustrations and the belief he has not accomplished anything, hasn't touched anyone in any meaningful way. Now here's what we read on the very next page, something that happened just a few hours later, that same afternoon. He writes, "Our neighbor, Frau Kohn, has an acquaintance who asked about me. At the university, she said, I once attended a wonderful lecture on Dante, given by a Professor Klemperer. Is it the same Professor Klemperer?" And I responded that I was the same professor, only 23 years older now. Now today, Frau Kohn brought a large bag of apples. The woman friend asked her whether things were as short at the professor's as at the Kohns. Yes, then she should present him with these apples from an unknown well-wisher, Dante apples, as it were, late fruits. So on a forgotten day in his past, Klemperer had touched another human being without even realizing he had done it. He touched her life in such a way, left her such a memory, that 23 years later, she sent the Klemperers a life-saving bag of apples. And we may doubt the nutritional value of apples, but at that time, again, when the Jewish German Klemperers were unable to even buy food, it was literally the difference between life and death. It's natural for any human being to ponder the meaning, the effect of our own life. But one frustration of the human condition is that we can never answer that question ourselves. And what's more, anyone who insists on looking at the human condition in terms of success or failure, winning or losing, is betting on a hopelessly rigged game. None of us comes out of an empty void. We are all the products of particular subcultures and particular families within our culture. In my case, I was preconditioned by my upbringing to see the world in terms of what I didn't quite accomplish. Whether I achieved some particular thing or not, I didn't have any way to recognize success even when it was all around me. And I doubt I'm the only one with that kind of cloudy vision. When I studied Zen in South Korea years ago, the Dharma teachers cautioned us not to even go to that place, winning or losing, success or failure. To do so is to become lost either in the past or the future. Or as they put it, because life is filled with suffering, just being born is the worst mistake you could possibly make. Seriously, after that, all other mistakes are tiny by comparison. So, there is only our life. Success or failure are things we make in our own mind. And in Zen terms, they're errors of judgment. Nothing is permanent. Fortunes are won and lost. Records are broken. Citadels collapse. Empires fall. As Victor Klemperer could tell us, the 1,000-year Nazi Reich lasted 18 years. It is in the nature for each of us to feel that we or our country are exempt from that pattern, but we are not. In the final analysis, as an anthropologist named Ian Tattersall so well puts it, we are all accidental tourists in a universe far beyond our control and even beyond our complete comprehension. We exist at a certain point in time and space as wonderful end products of 1 billion years of evolution. At the same time, we are also infinitesimal players in a theater too large for our comprehension. The best we can hope for is to be starting blocks for the next 1 billion years of evolution. We are born, we live and love and are loved, we die and others mourn for us. Old racetracks become parking lots, old trophies are lost and discarded, old novels turn yellow and fall to dust and are replaced by DVDs and video games, which will also disappear in their own time. And this is no matter for sadness, rather it is food for rejoicing. Whether we choose our role in life or not, each one of us is a splendid metaphor in the endless poem of the cosmos. The meaning of my life lies not in erecting some intellectual edifice or eternal institution. Rather, the meaning of my life lies in the child I hug this morning, the laughter I share this afternoon, the tear I weep for a departed friend this evening. All are good. Mystic atheist that I am, I might even allow that all are holy. Amen. May it be so.
Kind friends all gathered round, there's something I would say, that what brings us together here has blessed us all today. Love has made a circle that holds us all inside, where strangers are as family, loneliness can't hide. You must give yourself to love, if love is what you're after. Open up your hearts to tears and laughter and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. I've walked these mountains in the rain and learned to love the wind. Been up before the sunrise to watch the day begin. I've always knew I'd find you, though I never knew how. Like sunshine on a cloudy day, you stand before me now. So give yourself to love, if love is what you're after. Open up your hearts to the tears and laughter and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Love is born in fire. It's planted like a seed. Love can't give you everything, but it gives you what you need. And love comes when you're ready, love comes when you're afraid. It'll be your greatest teacher, the best friend you have made. So give yourself to love, if love is what you're after. Open up your hearts to the tears and laughter and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. If love is what you're after, open up your hearts to the tears and laughter and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love.
Give yourself to love indeed. That's a great parting message for us. So as we extinguish our chalice, we will repeat the words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Now we have a couple of video announcements before we have the band take us out. And so go ahead and play the video announcements. This is the listening sessions for the Regulations Committee and the Covenant, and the dates, and they've been well advertised. We can move on. And upcoming services. We will have a Music Sunday next Sunday, and then we will have a solstice service on the 21st, as well as a Christmas Eve service on the 24th, and a very special service for Christmas morning for those who want to be in the presence of the sanctuary. And these are the strange Sundays where we have a different YouTube service from the others. And I guess one more.
Are the short days bringing you down? Finding it hard to concentrate? Ask your doctor about attending the Winter Solstice Celebration. The Winter Solstice Celebration is a once-a-year event which offers a meal and worship. The Winter Solstice Celebration is only for those who can attend in person. Cost for the Winter Solstice Celebration varies. In most cases, the meal costs $5 per person or $20 per family, while the worship is free. Welcome back the sun with the Winter Solstice Celebration. In most cases, you do not actually need your doctor's approval to attend the Winter Solstice Celebration. Please do not waste their time. The Winter Solstice Celebration is a low-risk activity where the only side effect is merriment. Plan to attend the Winter Solstice Celebration? Mark your calendars now for Wednesday, December 21st at 6 p.m. Worship at 7.
All-age Christmas Eve service, Saturday, December 24th at 4:30 p.m. Be there or be square.